What? Two humans in a room together? That's right. We're throwing it together for Let's Talk Some Football. That's right. Perri Goldstein, how are you?
Surprise.
Welcome to the podcast room here at GSET TV.
Podcasting in the same room as another person feels so strange.
It's so bizarre, right?
It's so weird, and yet it's probably going to come out sounding so much better because you're going to be able to like riff off each other, and like I get to see your body language.
You're just going to say like, no, you're wrong 100 times, but other than that, it'll be fine.
No, you're wrong.
See, you started already. It's not fair. How are you? It's so good to see you.
I know. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so thrilled you're here. I mean, we're a week away from camp.
That's so weird.
Which is crazy.
So weird.
Packers will be on the practice field a week from tomorrow. We're recording this on Tuesday evening.
Rookies report on Friday.
They do indeed.
So less than
Here
a
we
week.
go. Shareholders on Monday.
Here we go. I got invited to that this year for the first
You're
time.
an owner now. Congratulations.
Thank you. I have it framed in my office.
Do you?
And
What, the tickets for the shareholders, man?
No,
I'm kidding.
my actual,
Right.
ownership. And you can tell a real football fan when I get on Zoom at work and they're like, "Is that your Packers ownership on the wall?" And I'm like, "Yes, it is.
is
Yes,
indeed.
it is." But I did save the invitation. I can't go. Obviously,
Right.
I live here. I don't live in
Did you give your
Wisconsin,
proxy vote online?
but I didn't even know that was a thing.
I love it. Well, wait. So like we're talking, camp is in the air.
Yeah.
It's going to be here very soon. Let's start 30,000 feet. As far as
Okay.
when you get there, you're going to be there for the joint practices,
I
right?
will be there Saints week.
Saints week.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously the thing that's weird is like when you're leading up to camp, it's if you're not there reading the daily updates.
Yeah.
Okay, this guy's doing well, this guy's not, and you're wishing you were there and all
Yes.
this stuff. But is there a guy sitting here right now prior to anything happening in camp, given everything that's happened in the offseason, that you will kind of maybe not beeline to, but make a mark, like you want to make sure you watch him, whether it's a camp battle or somebody who maybe a young guy who's trying to make a name? Is there
Yeah.
somebody that you're most interested in looking at?
There's so many. First off,
All of them.
it's always Jair Alexander.
Well, clearly.
Second of all, the real
a
answer.
real
to
up and comer, a guy really
Yeah,
trying to
yeah,
like
yeah.
kind of make a name for himself.
Not
Right.
my literal favorite player to. Yeah. Okay. No, my real answer is I said this on Pack a Day, so I'm going to stick with it.
Okay.
Or I think it was when Andy came on our show. It was an
Right.
Andy Herman conversation.
So many are.
Darnell Savage.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think this is the make or break year. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like they picked up the 5th-year option. That was actually debate whether they were going to do that or not. I never thought they wouldn't.
I was just going to say, were you surprised at that?
No. I mean, no, he's a first round pick. Like you
Like,
don't
you take advantage of it.
yeah,
and he's
take
got
the
the
extra
talent.
year.
Yeah.
But the second contract on the line, yeah, I mean,
Right.
this is
This is it.
the year. And he, drafted the same year as Rashawn Gary, same round.
Yep.
And the trajectories have been very, very, very
A
different.
little dissimilar.
Very different.
I will say the thing with I always kind of maybe not hedge, but with Darnell Savage, I always feel like because he didn't make splash plays, like not at the rate we maybe thought he would coming into last season, I always kind of get the feeling, this is completely blaming myself here, that I'm being harder on him and kind of casting his play in a light that it actually wasn't in.
Yeah.
And I think the online kind of thing has fed into that because I read so many people saying what a disappointing year he had last year.
Right.
I don't think it was.
I agree with you.
You know what I mean?
I'm not as
But you're
down
right.
on him. I think that my perspective is, are you going to make that leap,
Right.
to be a player that the Packers are going to want
A
to bring
core
back?
member of your team.
And I think that
Right.
he is a core member of that starting secondary, right?
Right.
That top 5. Without him, where are they?
Yeah.
in the
Well, they got a
safety
big,
room.
got a big hole. That's
But
no
at the same time, and I'm sure we'll talk about that, but at the same time, like there is some level of disappointment. He's an athletic freak.
Yep.
He was drafted in the first round.
You want to see a little
You
bit
want
more.
to see a little more, and
Yeah.
he's flashed. That's the thing, is that I think that if he hadn't flashed,
Oh,
it
especially
would
the year
be done,
before.
right? It would
Exactly,
be like,
right.
all right, well,
Right.
he isn't what we thought, but he
Yeah.
does. And so there's these moments where you're like, oh my God, like look at what you can do.
Yeah.
And like, to be fair to him, he's on his second defensive coordinator,
absolutely.
right? Like
No
he
doubt.
does have an interesting skill set.
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to see what else they can like bring out in him. And it's not for nothing. He's playing against one of the best safeties in the league who
Right.
Like when Amos was with the Bears, like lifted up that side. So I don't know. I just
look at Eddie Jackson. Look how he's fallen off without Amos.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So I don't know. I just think Darnell has so much potential still.
That's a really good
I just want it. I want to see it. And I don't know, like, has he put on weight? Maybe is he faster? Like there's these little tweaks that I feel like I hear players talk about that they do in the off season.
Right.
So, and it's a big year for him.
It's fun to watch, like, that first kind of blush of camp when the pads come on and the hitting starts, so to speak. I mean, it's not real hitting still, but at least there's a little bit of contact.
More than what we've seen.
More than the shorts and helmets that we've seen all offseason, no doubt. Given that, this is the first time we'll see a number of these younger, especially offensive linemen. Let's live in a world, because this is my thing on this channel.
Okay.
We live in a world where David Bakhtiari is going to be fine.
That's the world I live in too. So
he's going to be there day one at camp. I'm not talking week one. I'm talking day one at camp. He's going to be fine.
Right.
Until someone says something else.
Okay.
That's the world I live in.
Okay.
So given that means we've got our left tackle locked down. You got to assume Runyon's there at left guard, most likely, because we don't think Elton's going to be ready for the start of the season.
No.
So then you go center. You got Josh Myers. Then the right side.
Yeah.
Then it's the right side, and there's a lot of questions, and there's a lot of youth.
Right.
Clearly, you got Newman, who had plenty of playing time last year, no doubt. But I don't know if he just automatically steps back into that role. Where do you think? Where do you see if there's a young guy or a rookie or maybe not a surprise, but if there's like a guy or two that you think, okay, this is a guy I'm interested in. Does he kind of solidify his spot? Does he make a flash? Whatever. Is there anybody there that you think, yeah, that guy could be a player or somebody I have my eye on for camp?
So I'm gonna caveat this by saying, of all the positions, offensive line is not my expertise.
Your forte, right?
Expertise, but I think Royce gets the nod with the ones as a respect. Right? Like you were our starter, so this is where we're gonna start this baseline. Let's call that baseline.
I'm down with that.
Is it up for grabs? 100%.
Right.
100%. Like no one's sitting here, I think, saying like Royce Newman has it on lock. Right. So I don't know. I mean, Packers always go into the season with like 12 to 14 offensive linemen in camp, and then a couple of them make it on the practice squad and some get cut. So there's always surprises. I mean, everyone's talking about Rasheed Walker, right, as the steal of the draft.
Right.
So he's still a rookie, right? You don't know. Yeah. And then we're talking about Zach Tom. And I think the Packers are so good at scouting linemen.
You can't look at their track record and think anything else.
Right. So you have to think, okay, these rookies for sure have a shot. I mean, we've had rookies starting for years, as far back as I can remember.
Right.
And neither of those spots are locked. Elton Jenkins is still hurt. Can Yosh kick over to right tackle from left? I don't know. He's going to try.
I think he's going to.
There's no Billy Turner. I'm actually of the mindset that if they're going to bring in a vet,
it'll be a tackle.
It's going to be a tackle, right? Because they don't have
akin to what they did last year,
right? You know? Or in the season before,
right?
Absolutely. So there's always that possibility. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I'll tell you what. I love Sean Ryan, the kid out of UCLA.
Yeah.
I do think
I don't know enough about him to have commented on.
They know they are famous for, as you said, how good they've been with these linemen. They're known for they draft the tackle, they kick him inside, and I know he played mostly guard throughout the offseason. But I gotta think you're talking about right tackle, and you're talking about do you trust Yosh out there? Like, yes, he gave you everything at left tackle.
Yeah, but you're flipping everything.
But that's literally all he's played.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, yes, he's played a down or two, but it's like that's been his position. You talk to any lineman, whether it's my buddy Faust, who used to play for the Broncos, you talk to Jeff Schwartz, who used to play for the Giants, among other teams, they all tell you that, like, we on the outside all talk about, they can flip like, it's not that easy.
Yeah.
And it doesn't like maybe, you
Mike
can try
Wall
it.
had a great bit on that when he was on with Andy. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike's great. But that's the thing. It's like it's not automatic. But with Sean Ryan, he's played there.
Yeah.
And he's played at a pretty damn high level at a high, big school. And I just think that maybe I wouldn't call it desperation, but I do think the moment will call for, let's see if this kid can handle it. in the pros.
I don't think starting a rookie is desperation. I think that's just good drafting.
Well, you would hope, right? You would absolutely.
I will say, I think that there comes a time, like I just said, the Packers are good at drafting linemen. And I think there gets to a point where you're looking at your Jake Hansons, your Cole Van Lannens, that group of players where at some point you're just saying like, this isn't it, right? Like you've been in the system for a couple of seasons, and if we're not seeing it, we're not seeing it, and we're drafting 2 to 3 linemen every single year.
If you've drafted this many guys year after year, you gotta make that churn.
We might not think that our guys from last year or 2 years ago are going to be able to step into that role, or they're just depth,
or it's just straight up competition too. You never know. I mean, here's the other thing: is you talk about the O-line, like guys surprise all the time.
Of course,
you mentioned the 7th round pick. I mean, Packers literally started Mark Tauscher as a 7th round pick back in the day. No one saw that coming.
Yeah.
So it's just, you never know who's going to jump up.
I have to say, I actually, as soon as guys are drafted,
right,
I kind of throw away a draft round. Sure, you're not going to compare a first round pick and a 7th round pick, right? There's just like a complete separation and just like readiness for the NFL.
Right.
But to me, you come in kind of at an even playing field at camp because if a 7th round pick is going to outplay a 3rd round pick, like who cares at that point?
I mean, other than the bean counters, but
right.
No, I'm with you. Doesn't matter. That Matt's quote is, doesn't matter how you got here. It matters what you do once you're here.
Right. LaFleur said it best.
And that's it.
Right.
To your point, that's perfect.
So,
and it's possible.
Right. And the Packers hit on their 6th round offensive linemen.
That's what they do
all the time.
That's what they do.
I don't know.
So what do you expect to see in preseason? Are you thinking, let's start at quarterback. Do we think Jordan Love gets like 90% of the snaps again? Or because of the debacle of week 1 last year, and the fact that Rodgers and the starters didn't play, I mean, it was pretty ugly. Does that mean we see more Rodgers, and does that hinder Jordan and with his time on the field?
I'm so over this debate.
It's not a debate. I'm asking your opinion.
I mean,
I have no debate. Like this is no ESPN here. I'm not embracing debate.
I didn't mean that.
I'm asking a genuine question.
Like I'm just like the hindering the Jordan Love and what to do with him. I just like I don't know. I just at this point, like
right.
At this point, there are so many paths he can go down now, and time,
especially this year,
is dwindling. Like time is just dwindling. And look, year 3 around this camp and this preseason was the year where people were like, Rodgers might have it. Might be something. Right?
He looked better because he'd been so poor the first 2 summers. And then the 3rd summer, it was like, oh, wait a second.
Something clicks.
There's something there. Right. And Aaron himself admitted this.
Right.
So
I have not written Jordan Love off. Right. I think what I think about is like, let me answer your question first. I think
by all means,
Rodgers has said notoriously time and time again, like, I don't need to throw out football in the off season to be ready for week 1. I don't know what happened last year, the Saints game. I kind of think of it as an anomaly because the season before Rodgers didn't really participate either, and they were fine in the beginning of the season. True. I think they go with getting Jordan as many snaps as possible because, like we just said, like this is it. Like this, there you can't hold him for 4 seasons without doing something with him. And
well, especially if you start talking about having to make a decision on this 5th-year option.
Right, like
his salary becomes $20 million plus guaranteed.
Every single snap for him is important.
Yeah, it's true.
So I hope he gets as much as possible. I also think it's going to be really interesting to see, does he develop a relationship with some of the newer wide receivers? Like there's
that's
so
the other
much
question, and that's kind of
available to him.
That was literally what I was going to ask about next, as far as the debate. Forgive me. About like the importance of getting Rodgers on the field in the preseason. The fact that he is going to be working with a lot of guys he has never worked with before.
He'll get on in preseason games. Rodgers always does a series or 2, right? Like he'll have to. I also think, to use his quote, a lot of potential, not a lot of production.
Not a lot of production.
There's not going to be a lot of production if Aaron Rodgers isn't out there throwing them the ball.
I mean,
right. So there has to be a balance.
Poor Matt. Matt LaFleur's got to juggle all this and figure out.
Matt.
Okay, relax. Actually, I will say, not poor Matt for much longer, because you got to think they're going to have some kind of extension worked up for Matt this offseason.
Thinking about that.
There's no way they go into this year with he and Goody as lame ducks. No chance.
No, I mean, there's no question that both of them are coming back. There's not one.
They'll get extensions.
But
they'll get extensions.
I always forget about the front office extensions. Like those guys' jobs aren't secure either. Yeah,
it's pretty important. I mean, this is kind of important to work with a contract.
Okay, let's talk about the wide receivers because.
All right, here it comes. Here we go. No, I'm kidding.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, I get inundated with questions on Packers Daily and any avenue of social media about not just like the wide receiver group, but who's going to be wide receiver one, which feels like such a fantasy football question.
It is.
I kind of hate it especially because the answer is like, it depends on the week. Like if you have an opponent that plays a lot of man coverage, I'm suspecting you're going to be utilizing Allen Lazard in his goon role, which we have seen him as an expert in these last 3 or 4 years, as opposed to if they're playing zone, I'm probably utilizing Allen in a little bit more kind of isolated, let him work the field, let him sit down, etc. Because I think Sammy Watkins, it's weird how people have kind of dismissed the idea that he could be really fucking productive in this scheme with Aaron Rodgers throwing him the football.
Yeah.
But both of those things are true.
Right.
Like I understand that he was disappointing in Baltimore, and I understand that like, you know, you haven't seen a lot from him.
Fit is so real.
I mean, exponentially so.
Yeah.
Especially if
and let's be real, is Baltimore a very pass-heavy offense? Like, no.
Exactly. Yeah. My thing is think of all the plays through the last like 3-4 years since Matt's been in town, right? Think of all the plays where they've had a guy isolated on the backside, where they have trips or quads or whatever going on one side. Usually just Rodgers right,
and
then they have someone backside, soloed up. You put Sammy Watkins on that solo side, he can make hay.
Yeah.
He can cook whoever's across from him most likely.
I'm actually not worried about Sammy Watkins being productive at all. What my question is like how healthy is he's going to stay?
Can he stay on the field?
That's it. Yeah, this isn't a question. And again, so are the Packers going to have a wide receiver one? No. And probably I also think that's fine.
Yeah. Like I totally agree.
I think if you're getting production from Allen Lazard, Cobb, Watkins, Aaron Jones.
Yes.
If you get any kind of marginal increase out of Amari Rodgers and Josiah DeGuara, you get any kind of contribution out of Christian Watson, and you have AJ Dillon. I mean, I just listed so many players, and your top three.
Yeah.
Let's say Cobb, Watkins, and Maggie and I have this conversation all the time on podcasts. So if you're a Pax What She Said listener, I'm sorry, this is repetitive.
And if you haven't listened to Pax What She Said, you are wasting your life as a Packers fan. Got to do it.
You get 3 receivers, let's say, throw in a tight end in there, 500 to 600 yards apiece, 6 to 8 touchdowns, let's say each.
That's pretty damn productive.
But it's not a wide receiver one.
No,
and people for some reason have a problem with that. And my offseason bit, I will say this season is you're filling this Davante Adams hole by committee.
Yes.
No single player is going. No single player. There is not a single player you could have drafted, a single player you could have brought in free agency that is going to fill Davante Adams' shoes. That is the best wide receiver in the league. Quote me on that.
Yeah.
So it's by committee. So you get more production out of Aaron Jones. You get more production out of AJ Dillon. You get more production out of all your wide receivers. You disperse the ball around. Right,
which they've done when he's been missing Davante,
and you get Matt LaFleur doing what he does, which is getting guys open by design.
Right,
and you have Aaron Rodgers throwing them the ball. I think they're going to be fine.
Here's my worst fear.
Okay, tell me.
I always talk about how I don't worry about the Packers. I don't worry about my children, but I will admit here right now to you, Perry, and the viewers.
Oh my gosh,
the back dark recesses of my mind.
Yeah.
Flash, forward to say week 9.
Sure.
Right. And the Packers are really struggling on offense, and Aaron Rodgers just won't let it rip because he doesn't trust any of these guys because he hasn't played with them or they can't get open against man coverage. Yeah. Teams know this. They've adjusted. All they do is play too high. So the Packers have to run the ball, and the teams where they can run against their front four, they're fine.
Like this is like the Rams
when they can't, exactly.
Yeah.
So and then
I'm picturing Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald.
So it's like I'm living in this kind of dark recess where I just know there's like a rogue Bears fan or Vikings fan out there who's clipped every Packers content creator throughout the offseason saying they're going to be fine on offense. They're going to be fine. Like Derek Carr is going to draw up the thing from NFL Network where I'm like, like the Packers, like they don't need a matchup. They're going to be fine spreading the ball around, which I truly believe.
I mean, what do you want us to say though?
Right.
Do you want us to say they're due? I mean, like what? Like,
well, they want you to be realistic, Perri.
I am realistic.
No, I know.
I just said I don't think there's going to be a wide receiver that has a 1,000-yard season.
But you still think they're going to be fine, which is like
okay.
I'm not even talking about Bears and Vikings fans now. There are like Packers fans who think, oh, they're going to be terrible on offense because they traded Davante and they haven't brought in Julio Jones. They haven't brought in a one-wheeled OBJ.
Did you watch Julio Jones
I most certainly did.
I don't want that on my team.
No,
sorry.
I'm with you.
Look, fine is not good. Fine is not 2020 best offense in the league, right? Fine is they're going to be productive. And they are going to have a defense that is going to keep them in games.
Preach it.
And hopefully they're going to have a special teams that doesn't lose them games.
I was really hyped there for a second.
But they are going to have the back-to-back MVP.
I'm with you.
Seeing the field.
Talk about it.
Seeing the field the way only probably like he and Tom Brady can see the field, right? Like you have a brain at the there's some things that people don't talk about, right? And that's like Aaron Rodgers' football IQ, right? Like
insane.
He's gonna know what these guys can do, what they can't. Sure, we can nitpick the throws that he doesn't make, but I'm sorry, I'm actually always gonna revert back to Aaron Rodgers probably saw something we didn't on the field
more often than not.
Yeah. Right. So I think he's gonna find his moments, and again, Matt LaFleur's thing is scheming guys open. You don't have to be a master separator. You like that? A master separator.
That's good.
We had one, which was incredible.
We did.
We've
had a few.
I really, really am gonna hate watching him play on the Raiders. Like I'm actually not over it. Like it's so
hard to see him in that fucking Raiders
uniform. I hate it
every time.
Take that also with like everything I'm saying. I hate it. I wanted them to re-sign Davante Adams, right? Like this, but you have to look at what they have, and like they're not without weapons. They're not the Bears, who have literally zero weapons.
Oh my gosh. Well, okay, I think Mooney's a player, but outside of that, you're probably right.
All right, like N'Keal Harry.
And then they really traded for that guy. I mean, that's amazing to me.
And the other thing I'll say about the offense is I think this whole narrative around like this, like, oh, they're not going to be like a power run team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, first of all, Matt LaFleur's been using power run concepts the entire time he's been in Green Bay.
In the door.
So this isn't new. Why do you think they drafted AJ Dillon? Like this wasn't in preparation for them losing Davante Adams either.
Right.
And two, like, so what?
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, so what if they have both their backs on the field at the same time? First of all, I love Pony Package. If you follow me on Twitter, you know how much I love Pony Package. And second of all,
100%,
you want all of your as many playmakers as physically possible on the field at the same time. And so this season, both your backs are going to be those guys. So if Packers win games by
it doesn't matter how they
power
do it.
Scheme and mesh and an occasional bomb to Sammy Watkins, like, okay,
let's go.
I don't like, okay,
sign me up.
Right. I don't it's somehow become this like,
I know.
And then the people think of this as like, oh well, if they're power run, that means like, well, you have Aaron Rodgers, so you're not going to
3 yards in a cloud of dust.
Power run doesn't mean you don't throw the ball.
By the way, like just running the ball in general, whether it's power, whether it's zone, whatever you're doing, is only going to help your quarterback. And this is the thing that has driven me nuts since Matt's been in town, because it's like clear they have the ability to do these things. And I know last year you can't really look at that too much because of the problems they had up front health-wise on the offensive line.
But what they were still able to do with
it is incredible. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like leaning into the running game. And I know everyone makes fun of me, especially during the games. Like if they call, God forbid they call a run and they get like 2 yards, immediately my Twitter blows up with like, oh, there you go, Nagler. They tried to run the ball just like you want.
But if you don't run the ball, then you're not making the defense move around the field for you.
That's the thing. And it's like it only helps your quarterback in your passing game.
Right.
It only does.
Yeah, because you gotta look. you got to bait the guys down. You can't have them be sitting back so that Aaron Rodgers can't throw more than 10 yards.
And you talk about the guys up front, like they want to fire off their stance every once in a while. I mean, you get the guys dropping back 50 times a game.
Yeah. Also,
talk to TJ Lang about that. He's got some fun things to say.
I don't know. I agree with you. You're not going to win if you don't have balance.
I mean, it doesn't, and like, look, I don't think they're ever going to be a 50-50 team, right? Like,
no, you have
just with Aaron Rodgers, it's never going to happen, especially when Aaron's at the line of scrimmage and he can see what he sees. Like you're talking about, he sees it all,
but
right?
Having
and he
both running backs on the field also doesn't mean they're about to run the ball.
About to run the ball. They could do anything with that. And there's a great play that they ran.
Backs catch the ball well.
Exactly. There was a play they ran 2 years ago. This is hyper nerd.
Okay.
So 2 years ago, they were in the red zone and they had Pony.
Game?
I think it was at home. It was at Lambeau.
Okay.
I'm trying to. I see the picture of the coach's tape in my mind, but all I remember is that Aaron Jones. I think it was against Minnesota.
Okay.
No, Detroit. Well, anyway, I think it was divisional. But so on this play, Aaron Jones, they basically split out of the backfield, right? And Aaron Jones goes to the right, is in the flat, and that's where the ball ends up going.
Right.
But on the backside, AJ Dillon runs a wheel route. He is screaming wide open.
Yeah.
For it would have been a touchdown. And I'm like, can we run that again? I've been begging Matt to run that for 2 years.
There's nothing Packers fans love more than a wheel route.
I love it. Goes back to my Dorsey Levens up the right sideline.
Yeah, I mean, I just think there's a lot of things you can do because the Packers have players that are multidimensional. And
yes, the versatility.
Right.
No
and
doubt.
So I don't know. I think it's fun. They brought in a young creative head coach. Like, let's see what Matt has
see what he's got, right?
Cooked up, because so far
like an old television movie, like, let's see what the kid's got.
Yeah, I mean,
see what he's got.
The kid, he's like,
he's younger than me. The first Packers head coach younger than me. I get to call him a kid.
Yeah, he is.
So I get no perks in this job. That's one of them.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, taking it back to camp,
right?
They're not going to show us everything, but I think some of the personnel groupings will be interesting.
They will be.
And they drafted 3 rookie wide receivers, and I'd be lying if I said I can't wait to see them.
Who's getting in the mix? Right. Who's being utilized? How are they being utilized? Yeah, that's the stuff.
I have never reacted. Never reacted to a player getting drafted like I did to Christian Watson getting drafted. Like, I'm almost positive my downstairs neighbors were like, what
we have a video on the YouTube channel about like how everyone on the draft stream freaked out.
He's so perfect for this team. So perfect for this team.
Totally agree.
And my expectations are tempered. You want realistic.
Yeah. For his rookie year, I agree.
My expectations are tempered. You just want something. You just want a glimpse of it.
Yep.
And you want him to be a chess piece.
Yeah.
And
especially with the athleticism, the size, speed.
Oh my God.
Bring it.
So, and then he's got a couple years to see what else he's got, but I can't wait to see him in person.
Well, okay, we've talked a lot about the offense. What about the defense? How geeked are you for this defense? How through the roof
defense,
are you?
Look, I obviously with Aaron Rodgers, I'm a defense girl. Right? Like, I cannot wait. I cannot wait.
You've been, since we met this, if people don't know, I met Perri, 3 or 4 years ago? How long has it been now?
Fall 2019.
So in the time I've known you, corner play is like her jam in like every sense of the word. And I just remember thinking like, I don't think I've ever met someone so dialed in.
Yeah.
Not just the defensive side, but like corners in particular.
I love me some defensive backs.
And now we've got 3 really good ones.
Really good.
That's pretty exciting.
I had a debate actually with Andy Herman the other night because he tweeted a poll and it was like,
he's tweeting those polls. Yeah, good Lord.
He loves to
rile them up, baby.
But it was, who's the better backfield at this point?
Okay.
2010 or 2022. And the answer is obviously 2010, right? Because we haven't seen 2022. Right. But I don't know. 2022 has some serious ceiling.
Potential.
Yeah,
potential.
And I don't want the Packers to move Jair around like they did with Woodson.
I do. 100%. Andy and I talked about this months ago.
Like, I think when you have someone who can lock down literally an entire half the field, it's hard to imagine.
I get that.
But Rasul and Stokes kind of locked it down last season. So
without Jair.
So you can do a little bit of that move around. And I just think Jair still hasn't like reached 100.
That's what's crazy, right?
Like
that's
everyone,
crazy.
He has more.
I think and this is my thing. Okay. And I understand Andy's thing was worrying about his size, playing inside,
his durability,
the run game, etc. I get all that. But if you're utilizing him, like, okay, one thing is who you're playing. Like, what is the offense doing? What is if they have a number one wide receiver that you need to make sure is on lock? Well, if they kick him inside, like the Packers did that with Davante for years.
With the Vikings, you're going to have
if Justin Jefferson's out there, you want him on there. Yeah. And here's the thing is I know they'll have some plays where that happens, but they'll definitely have plays where it doesn't. And I will fucking throw Packer Man and destroy him. Like it's going to happen.
I mean, sure. Like if you're doing zone and you've got like Stokes and Amos
even when they
top,
but even when they go man, even when they go like some match man stuff, like it'll end up where they have Jair outside because that's the call, and they'll move Justin Jefferson inside.
Yeah,
and we'll have to watch him do whatever he does, and I'm gonna hate it.
Yeah,
because I'm with you.
He's a good player.
Make him. He gets paid too, and he's one of the best young players in the league. I get that, but my thing with Jair is and moving him around is like the same reason and things they did with Woodson. Don't forget, Woodson won Defensive Player of the Year that year. You know, it's like his ability to affect the game from that position, and he's a tough bitch, man. He'll put his nose in there.
I was about to say, Jair's a dog. Why do you think his shoulder got hurt last year?
He is not afraid. And I understand the trepidation about the size, but man, you use him on blitz packages. Okay, you get him after the quarterback in passing situations.
Yeah.
Come on. I'm in on that.
Here are my things with Jair. First of all, he's actually not that much smaller than Woodson.
No.
It's like 2 inches and maybe like 15 pounds.
Yeah.
So sure.
Which can be a significant amount in the NFL.
Sure.
I get that. Right.
Sure. I mean, do I want Jair one-on-one with like a Travis Kelce size guy?
Right.
No,
probably not.
No. Right. Do I think he can win in that situation?
100%. Yeah.
I just think Jair is a unique intellectual football guy, right?
That's good.
I think the way he sees the game, he always puts himself in positions to make plays.
Yes.
So if you keep him,
even if it's not in the call,
right?
Yes, we've seen.
The blitz on Kirk Cousins was a perfect example of him just being like, "Well, I just knew I was going to win. I wouldn't have done that if I didn't think I knew I was going to do it." Right. But for me, you keep him at boundary, he's going to excel. He's already been voted, second team All Pro.
Should have
been first team. I agree, but if you allow him to use his skill sets across the entire field, who knows what he sees in those positions because you haven't played him there yet.
Such a good point. That is such a good point.
Using
his intellect across the field.
I just think really what if you put him in the slot and all of a sudden
he recognizes something either pre-snap, post-snap, from the motion, what have you, personnel groupings, leverage, That's so good.
And I think you can do that now because you have an entire season of proof that Stokes and Rasul are going to hold it down.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying move him around, maybe as much as they did with Woodson. I'm not saying move him around like they're doing with Jalen Ramsey because Ramsey is a very, very, very special player.
Yeah.
But
so is Jair.
I think be a little more creative with Jair.
Yeah, and I think we saw a glimpse of it, a real small glimpse of it in the playoff game. He was obviously on a pitch count, but he played inside a number of times. He manned up either tight ends or slot guys and did a pretty damn good job considering he hadn't played in months.
Yeah.
And I do think we'll see more of that.
The other thing I'll say is you're getting a secondary now that proved itself last season, but is going to be behind a very dominant front seven now.
That is the hope and dream,
and
no doubt.
It's going to change what they're able to do again because
and what Barry's going to call, probably.
You are going to get hopefully more pocket pushing.
Yeah,
you're going to get hopefully 2 very, very, very dominant inside linebackers who are going to close gaps more.
Quay Walker. The speed. I went back. I was getting ready to preview the inside back or the linebackers group in general today for Packers Daily, and I went back last night and was watching the college football championship. Holy mother, Mary of God! I forgot. How he was just like leaping out of the television with the speed and the athleticism and everything. And he had a game high 8 tackles, and he probably could have had 20 more.
He's so over. I think it's so interesting, like looking at the defenders that came out of that Georgia team.
Nuts. Yeah.
Because when you're playing on a team where everyone around you is dominant, it almost brings down each individual level of dominance.
Right. Because it's like everybody's at that level.
But now we're going to see them all separated out.
Right.
And so it's going to be interesting, like who rises, kind of grows out of that opportunity.
Well, and there's so much. There's so many variables. I'm just saying, like,
every place they go, you almost can't tell how good each individual player is.
Well, that was my thing. I was like, I didn't remember it watching, because I watched it live, but I didn't remember him popping the way he did.
You're also talking about every other player.
Exactly. Right? So good. Yeah. But when you zero in and just watch him for every play, I'm like, holy mother Mary of God. Yeah. He is so explosive. And to pair him with Davante, because here's the thing. Perfect. Here's what's crazy is that as great as Davante was last year, and he was great with a capital G, he still got taken advantage of in coverage a few times. Like he still had a couple of matchup problems. He's still human,
he's not a coverage linebacker.
No, but here's the like now you put Quay in there, and you talk about how he's probably never coming off the field once he gets the speed of the game and the assignments. I mean, Barnes will still have a place, but my God, the combination of those two is so exciting.
I think like the secondary, I mean, my idealized, obviously, version, like I shouldn't say idealized. The best case scenario of what this defense can do is the secondary is going to have a really easy job.
Right.
And you're going to have
they're going to be feasting
guys,
on,
hopefully, who can just make plays on the ball.
Yeah. Eyes on the ball.
Right.
See ball, get ball.
I mean, Sewell already did that.
Yep.
And Jair, that's pretty much the only thing that you can knock about his game, which is
he's dropped a few interceptions.
But
he's been in position to make the play.
Right. And he always does make the play. Right. I mean, I'll say it every time. I'll take a pass breakup over a catch any day. Don't
1,000%.
care. And you know, Stokes, again, like ball skills is the one thing that
the crazy thing about Stokes is like, think about the fact that was not the plan last year. Like the plan was not to get him out there and play as much as he did, but that happened. And now he's going into year 2 with all these banked reps, live reps under his belt.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so exciting.
I mean, I think the fact that he was taken as a project, I mean,
somewhat,
he was not
it was not
like
planned to start him right away.
No.
And he didn't start right away.
He was a mini project. Yeah. Not a Rashawn project, but a mini project.
Yeah, sure.
And had to be out there and ended up being one of the best cornerbacks in the league last season. And the best rookie cornerback.
Oh, yeah. I don't think there's any question there.
That, like, statistically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I agree. He's already, like, ahead of the curve in terms of his development.
Oh, it's exciting. And
I can talk about this forever,
They finally got Kenny Clark some help.
Oh, my God.
That
was the first thing I thought.
We got Kenny Clark some help.
Yeah, how do you feel? I actually want to know, like, how do you feel about Wyatt?
Oh, my God. I will say, I don't think he's going to wow anyone with, like taking on like two gapping or taking on double teams or things that you think of traditionally at the defensive tackle spot. But I think people are going to lose their mind with how disruptive this kid is going to be. Sure. And that's something where, especially, I mean, I know definitely under Pettin, they tried to go bigger. And now they've clearly gone, maybe not smaller, but they're going to do a little bit more up front where I think they're going to try and penetrate a little bit more. And his quick first step, oh my God.
I mean, he's also a big boy.
He's huge. Yeah. But no man that large should move that quickly.
He does. I know. Him and Jordan
in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you think about the plays where Kenny has done that. Like he did a number of times last year where, times the snap of the ball, watches the snap, whatever, and he's across the line before whoever's across from him can even raise his head and get ready. Yeah, Wyatt has a potential, and that's all it is right now.
Of course.
But the potential to be so disruptive that, to your point, like quarterbacks are going to have to get the ball out of their hands real quick, and the secondary hopefully has ample opportunity to get their hand on.
I mean, the secondary has the vision in order to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that is it Davante or Devonta?
Davante, I believe.
Okay,
spelled differently than our former wide receiver, but same pronunciation, I believe.
I think that what's going to happen, and I hope he gets the credit for this, is that Kenny Clark is just going to ball out.
Yes.
For having him next to him.
Yes.
And that won't show
up. Reed, I think both of them are going to help in that regard.
It won't show up on the stat sheet. And
he won't get the credit.
He won't get the credit that he deserves besides like by, the football nerds. But Kenny, what he's going to be able to do, what he's going to open up for Kenny.
Totally agree.
And I think about Kenny Clark as just like, this is what his 6th or 7th season. He's the same age as me. He's actually younger than me. He's 27, 26, 27. He's been in the league for 7 years.
Ted Thompson.
Like I don't know why I keep going back to all the football knowledge in this show, but like what he knows to do, and now he has the help. I mean,
look, when Corey Linsley left in free agency, I had an interview with him. I was basically on his way out the door for Packers Daily, and he said, like, no question, the hardest dude to block in his career was Kenny Clark in practice.
That's so funny.
Because Kenny's working on everything and trying to like put it all together and use everything he knows. And Corey said, like, I don't think people understand, like, and I'm not blowing smoke up a former teammate, whatever. He's like, I couldn't block him.
Yeah.
And I can block pretty much most people in this league.
Yeah.
I can't block Kenny one-on-one. Yeah. And that's what's so exciting, because the one-on-one possibilities are hopefully finally going to materialize in a significant way, because clearly he's had one-on-ones.
Yeah.
He wins a lot of them.
He has a lot
but
of
now
teams too.
Finally, possibly, maybe. Yeah. And also the other thing is, like, hopefully having this rotation allows them to give Kenny a little blow in the middle of the game so he can come in the fourth quarter and just lay waste.
And you're thinking about longevity for him as well.
That is
another
thing.
You and I talked about this a little bit pre-show, and it's obviously something everyone on Twitter is talking about, is like this whole like edge 3. And like my response to that is maybe someone will step up. Maybe they'll sign someone.
Right.
But I think your edge 3 is Kenny Clark.
That's really good.
I just think like you're getting him help.
They've moved him around.
Let's talk about his pressures and his pocket pushing ability. Like
he's slimmed down so much too. It's crazy.
I haven't seen him. I'm looking
my
forward
God.
to seeing him.
He's lost so much. I joked. I asked him, I said, did they ask you to play safety? What's going on over there? Like, he looks so trim.
But like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like Kenny Clark can sack the quarterback.
No doubt.
Kenny Clark can create pressure.
And don't forget Quay Walker. Quay Walker played outside at Georgia at times. You can move him around.
Yeah. So again, maybe
sending
this
waves
edge 3.
At these guys.
I'm actually just thinking about this on the spot.
Right.
Maybe this edge 3 is another situation where it's like fill
There's
Z's
no wide
role by
receiver
committee.
One. Exactly.
Right? Like maybe again it's Kenny, maybe it's Quay, maybe it's
I think Jonathan Garvin will have something to say about
maybe,
it. He played okay.
Maybe
last
the
year.
third, somebody gets that opportunity to rise up out of that, which would be amazing.
Barre maybe makes a case for himself. You never know.
Maybe we get more DB blitzes.
There you go. Now you're talking.
Joe Barry?
Now we're talking. Well, you see, it's funny you mentioned that, because if you go back and watch the Steelers game last year, especially if you watch the coaches tape, you see they started getting pretty complex. They were starting to do stuff, and then Jair got hurt.
Yeah.
And then Joe like pretty much scrapped all that for the rest of the year, because it was like, well, okay, I can't hold up back end the way I could if Jair's out there. So then it's like, okay, shut all that down. But now John Money's back.
Talk to me about it.
We'll see. Yeah, maybe that opens things up a little bit.
I love
in that regard.
Blitz. But yeah, I mean, I think the point is that, like, again, the players are there.
Right.
What they do with them, and I almost think that rotational type of play is so much harder for offenses to plan for.
1,000,000,000%.
So why not?
You don't know what's out there. You don't know what's coming. You don't know what their tendencies are. Hopefully,
and you have Rashawn Gary, because like
and you have Bane,
and then you just have
Bane
Rashawn
on the other end,
to worry
so you're
about.
all good.
So who is finally also getting the recognition that he deserves in terms of.
All I know is he better continue to wreck it. Like, he cannot have just arrived. You know what I mean? Like, he's got to continue to ascend.
Please.
And I think he will, but he is so good, and he has the potential to be great.
There is no one that I am more certain will continue to rise solely based on work ethic.
Right.
Like,
I feel you.
He is going to get better because he works his ass off.
Yeah, he does.
He was the only starter at optional camp.
Yeah. At the end there, yeah, definitely.
Because he knows what it means for his play. He knows that he needs to elevate everybody around him. Like,
truly. Yeah.
He is going to be so good.
Oh, God. Got me all excited. Got me all excited now.
Good.
All right. We've been talking for a long time. I won't bore you with special teams questions because you know what? I live in a world where the special teams, Rich Bisaccia, solved. That's it.
Yeah. Sure. Let's go with that.
All I know is all I want to see is more special teams practice. I know that sounds counterintuitive. Yes, because I want finally, for the first time in decades in Green Bay, for the old coaching adage, you get what you emphasize. Well, let's get some competent special teams play by emphasizing it in practice.
Okay, final question for you then.
Yes.
What is your stance on starters playing on special teams?
I'm all for it.
Everyone has a different answer.
They're playing football. Let them play football. William Henderson started on special teams. Great player, starter.
Yeah.
Do it. And I know it sucks that A.J. Dillon got hurt in that playoff game.
Yeah.
No question about it. He could have got hurt on the very next play.
Yeah.
No. If you can contribute, make the team better on teams, do it. Mark Tauscher was on the pod earlier this offseason, and he opened my eyes. Because I was very much, Andy and I used to talk all the time, but I just want competence. And Mark was like, no, that's the attitude that has gotten Green Bay where they are. They need guys to view special teams as an opportunity to win the game, not to just hold serve, not to just not mess it up. You can go make a play and win the game.
You mean like Al Harris in the 1996 championship game?
That's a very good.
I just watched that game.
I want you to go make a play. I want you to go make a play and win the game on special teams rather than, okay, just don't screw it up. Because just don't screw it up makes you screw it up. Yeah. We've got ample evidence.
Yeah.
I mean, I just watched the Sunday Night Bears game the other day. I completely wiped from my mind Patrick Taylor running over on the left side and basically batting the ball out of bounds and giving the Packers the ball at the 5. No, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm over. I want guys who are going to want to be out there and want to make plays.
Yeah. My thing about it is if you're playing, look, there is something to be said for that's your opportunity as a fringe roster guy. Sure.
Yeah.
Make the most of your opportunity. But I think when you don't have your best players on the field for a phase of the game, you're not going to get the best play out of that phase of the game.
Totally agree.
And I'm not advocating for Davante to be out on special teams, but if Amos wants to get out there and start blocking,
now that Davante's on the Raiders, he can be on special teams all he wants.
But you know what I mean? I think there's an argument for you're capping yourself.
Well, that was the thing too. Last year, Lazard was I went up to Matt and said, I want to be on teams. And they were like, all right, let's go. But why did it take to the middle of the year
and
for the starter to say, and for this player to advocate for it? This is the mentality thing I'm talking about.
I do think there's you limit yourself in your ability to do anything if the players on the field aren't your best players.
Go play football. That's my thing.
Yeah.
And that's a phase of the game where you can win.
Go play football.
We're talking football. That's what we do here at Cheesehead TV. I'm talking with Perri Goldstein, co-host of Pack's What She Said. If you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend you do so. She and Maggie Loney do the Lord's work for Packers fans each and every week.
Maggie's even better, so.
Oh, stop.
She is.
You're both phenomenal. Both fantastic. Make sure you check it out. Perri, can't thank you enough for hanging out and talking football. First inaugural person-to-person chat in the podcast room here at Cheesehead TV ever. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.